Wow. So, Halina Malik here with Esports. You can you tell us what it is that you do?
Yeah, so currently I'm the director of content at Efuse, and if y'all have not heard of it, it's a social media platform for gamers. So if you're in high school or college, it's basically for looking at gaming scholarships, looking at gaming jobs, esports jobs, and opportunities. But aside from our social platform, we throw a ton of events, and we have a lot of really big deals with publishers like Psyonix and Activision and Epic Games and whatnot. So we throw a lot of virtual and now in-person events, across the U.S., across the globe. But before this fabulous job, I was at the Cleveland Cavaliers, and even before that, I played competitive Call of Duty. So I played on the Major League Gaming circuit and traveled to compete for a couple different years. I was never that good. Don't worry about it. Uh, Scump was always the best. But you move behind the scenes to market in Call of Duty. So I was marketing for Panda Gaming, which was a Call of Duty team at the time. And out of college, got that opportunity at the Cavaliers to build their esports franchise, Cavs Legion, for their 2K team. But it's been a blast.
Epic, epic. That is a ton of experience there, and a lot to start with. I'm gonna first ask if anyone has any burning questions before I get into my little thing here. Okay, you just kind of laid it down. Come on up. Come on up. We do have some burning questions. Say your name, then your question.
Hello, my name is David. I guess my first question, well, my only question right now, I guess, is just like, how did you end up finding the opportunity to, like, how did you make your way into working with the NBA 2K League?
Definitely. That's a good question. And to be honest, it was just a bunch of Google searches and job searches. I found somebody who posted on Twitter who applied to the Milwaukee Bucks 2K team, and that was the first time I heard of this 2K league. So did a bunch of research, and there were a couple of different jobs posted on Teamwork Online. So basically, had a couple different esports and gaming job searches saved for the 2K League and tried to find and map out any of the NBA franchises that were hiring for esports at the time, and applied to three different teams. It was like the Cavs, the Sacramento Kings, and the Milwaukee Bucks, and got interviews at two out of the three, and then landed on my job at the Cavs. But that opportunity just came from my gaming network, like being on Twitter and being in the gaming community on like the social media space, just seeing that retweet and then doing my own research and finding those opportunities on Teamwork Online.
Thank you.
Mhm. He says, thank you.
Of course, thank you. Thank you for the burning questions. I like it.
Cool. I got some. Oh, wait, no, we got one more. Come on up. Come on up. The burning questions, they got to get answered first.
So when you played competitively, did you have any issues with them treating you differently because you was a female?
All the time. And it's something, that the women still go through right now. Luckily, what I had going for me is I had a lot of male allies. So I actually would play all the time at this LAN center in Pittsburgh, PA, and they hosted very small like Call of Duty tournaments. And I would kick butt and, form my team. And from that LAN center, we formed our team of four. So it was co-ed, it was me and three other guys, and we would travel to different MLG events, but you could tell that there were not a lot of women in the room at the time. Um, so, a lot of eyeballs were on you, a lot of critiques were on you. Um, and, eventually there was a female pro league that came to be. So there was a specific female space for that. And a lot of, guys didn't really take that league very seriously, even though it was highly competitive. And now there's a lot of high stakes women's tournaments and co-ed tournaments, like along with just any Call of Duty or Warzone event. There's a lot of prize pool money up for grabs now. So, um, you know, women's tournaments and co-ed tournaments are happening every single week, every single day, anywhere from 10,000, 20,000 to $50,000 of prize pools, which, at the time the women's leagues, were $100 maybe tops, for their league matches for prize pools. So the women's scene is definitely growing, but it's a lot better now than it was like, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago when I was playing.
That is a really interesting piece there. I want to dig down a little bit in there. We just saw on NBA 2K how the Warriors had drafted. It must have been a couple of years ago. You didn't know about this. The first female NBA 2K player, back with the Warriors. What What do you think about the potential for a space, whether it be NBA 2K, whether it be Madden, to have a, a playing field where women can compete alongside men, gender neutral people, the whole LGBTQA, age, race. What do you think about this environment now that we're in? Because never before has there been an opportunity where you have golfers on the same court that are women, and you have basketball players that are women. That's not what you have, right? So speak to the potential, maybe of esports and its potential to kind of create a new environment.
Absolutely. It's definitely more of an even playing field. It's there's no sort of like physical requirement. I don't have to be 6'8", to be able to play like in the NBA. There's no sort of like height weight limit. So it's awesome for all the women to be able to play against the men. And that was a big thing before, and why there weren't a lot of, women competitors is, guys wouldn't want to play with the girls. They wouldn't want to play on the same team. They wouldn't want to play against the girls. They would decline scrimmages, etc. And now, you know, there's so many different like massive co-ed events. And I think the guys are finally taking this more seriously, which is great. And a lot of the women are feeling a little bit more accepted as well. We have a long way to go. But the Warriors did amazing when they drafted Chiquita. Chiquita's incredible. And, she definitely deserved to be there in the draft pool. And there will be a lot of women to follow her, and there have been. Now the Celtics, drafted the second woman in the 2K League. So we're going to see a lot more, people from across the world, you know, join in and join that even playing field.
Thanks for that. So let's take a step back. I want to take a step back because we're footed in sports. I know that's where you were with NBA 2K. Can you tell us what your job was there, how you did it? 'Cause I think that story is really fascinating, especially for these students here as they kind of are interested in pursuing that same.
Definitely. The initial job description was director of esports, and I applied for it. I actually didn't get that job. They created a second position for me because my skill sets were more so in like social media and content creation and marketing. I could help produce videos, that sort of thing. On more on the creative side, they actually created my job position, which was marketing and content manager, where they did end up hiring me, but it wasn't for the job that I applied for. So, like a good tip that I always say is even if that job isn't, an exact fit, still shoot your shot, especially in esports. So they hired both of us. They hired their director of esports and they hired me, in marketing. And we were kind of a two-person army and, had to sort of build this franchise from the ground up. So I hired all sorts of photographers and videographers and article writers and content creators and what have you, and sort of tried to develop my marketing and content budget for the esports franchise. And it was sort of like building the plane in the air where we didn't really know what to expect. But as the seasons went on and we kind of knew what we were getting into, we could really develop an off-season plan and sort of plan for the season a little bit more.
Yeah, build a plane in the air. That is definitely the concept. I think esports in general, everyone's trying to figure the pieces out and put them together to make them work, which is kind of cool because you really get to know your problem solvers, right? Who's with you. Other burning questions, especially on the topic of media. Yep, come on up, Anthony.
Hey, I'm Anthony. What was like the biggest challenge you faced during your career in 2K, and how did you like overcome it?
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time? I can't quite hear that.
Yeah. What was the biggest challenge you faced during the career in 2K and like, how did you overcome it?
Oh, I still can't hear that. I'm sorry. That's so tough.
That's there, right there. You can see about that.
I
Sorry.
said, your biggest challenge you faced during your career in 2K and how did you overcome it?
Oh, my biggest challenge I faced in 2K and how I overcame it. Okay. Thank you. Third time's a charm. My bad. I think the biggest challenge with 2K was all of the IP rules and regulations that the NBA set in place for us. And at first, we didn't know what all of these rules would be. But it came to be that we couldn't use any Cavaliers IP, so we couldn't use LeBron James, we couldn't use Kevin Love, we couldn't use anybody's likeness. So out of the gate, when we became a franchise, we didn't really understand these rules and regulations, and we were breaking a lot of these rules and getting our hands slapped over and over and over again. Um, and eventually, it was really tough to work around all of the rules. We couldn't even be in the same. There couldn't be a Cavs logo even in any shot on social media or anything. We had to really develop our brand, Cavs Legion, as the 2K team, so separate from the Cavaliers. So that was definitely tough. And I would say how we overcame it is through content. We always tried to be the best at content. And without including the Cavaliers, what were some really cool and innovative videos that we could do? What were innovative storylines that we could tell? And sort of distract ourselves from the fact that we couldn't use LeBron.
You ready? Yeah. You got another one, Halina.
Awesome.
How do you find your self-worth through all like the digital media that you do?
Especially considering you don't have a degree yet. So he's trying to figure out what his price points are and how he can be charging before he has his degree. So how do you identify or set a price point for your time and effort?
Yeah, it's a lot of also peer discussion too, talking to people with like-minded, experienced people like on the same playing field as you. And so for us, like just on the Cavs level, we, you know, kind of just threw a dart in the wall and defined it, and it ended up being too cheap. And other teams were charging a lot more, and some other teams were charging a lot less. And so you would see these, deals go through, for other teams, and we would kind of scratch our heads and say, why didn't it go through for us? And we had to go back to the drawing board. But I would say client feedback and peer review feedback are both amazing. Um, and I would say never sell yourself short. So typically, whatever number that you're thinking in your head, the industry standard is usually a lot more than that. So I would say just don't be afraid and just be very confident in the numbers that you go in with. But also don't be afraid to ask the client after your work's complete. So say you did a fabulous job, say you delivered a ton of photos or videos and it all was fabulous, or the website looked great or whatever the project is. And they pay up and maybe a couple weeks later you swing back and say, hey, would love to talk to you about what you thought about this process. Was this cheap? Was this too expensive? Like, based off of um, your feedback. So I would just don't be afraid to make those like relationships and keep that dialogue open with everybody.
Thank you.
Great question. That's one of the common ones I think that these students will have, and the reason is because me. I'm trying to get them some cash as soon as possible, because then they can start to understand their value and scale up. Because the business is about value of exchange.
Definitely. You will always be the person to sell yourself short. Your number is always going to be lower than what a company or, a company's willing to pay for your product.
So now you are in this new role. Let's transition into this new role, this new epic role that you have. What does your day-to-day look like?
So I lead a team of videographers and video editors, as well as our written and article teams. So my day to day is usually making sure they know what the week ahead looks like, what events we have planned, asking them, is this video done? How's this coming along? Basically like a glorified project manager for creatives. So right now I'm in the process of hiring article writers for different games like Fortnite and League of Legends and Overwatch, Call of Duty, etc. Um, but yeah, I just want to make sure that our eFuse users on our social site have really great content, both quantity and quality, to look at so that they come back to the site continuously. So yeah, my day to day is just playing around in Photoshop and Premiere.
That sound familiar? That sounds familiar. These guys who are shaking their heads. Like, yeah. So let's dig a little deeper there. We are here talking about live event management, and we are having them build and design their own tournament because I think that's important for them to understand. And at the end of the day, they're going to build, at the end of this course, they're going to build an SOW, right? A standard operating, actually SOP, a standard operating procedure for themselves. It'll be micro. We do have a graduate level certification that will go even higher than that. I just built it. But they're going to build a micro. So can you give us some insight into what it's like to manage, you're on the management side, director side, manage all these interesting creatives and how to arrange them, organize them, structure them, manage people. What does that look like?
Absolutely. Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, and especially my creative team, they're very unique. You can't treat, one person the same as the next person. Like one video editor is not going to be the same as another video editor. Like, for example, one of my editors is really great at telling a story and building a narrative, sort of out of nothing. And, the projects that you would want him on are like script writing and interview questions and sort of like prep. And the video edits that make the most sense for drawing like emotion out of an audience. And one of my other videographers, he's more of like really fast-paced edits, hype reels, sort of how you would see on like ESPN. So everyone's sort of got their style and their strengths and weaknesses. And so, how do you coach them through that? Like, how do you put them in places that they're going to shine, but also help teach them maybe the things that they don't know. So one of my editors was not esports endemic when he came into it. And now, he can tell you anything you need to know about the Rocket League scene. So, um, sort of treating everybody differently, is really massively important. Just don't treat two people the same way and make sure that you're, having a ton of follow-up meetings. I have weekly one-on-ones with everyone in my team. And we go over both personal and professional. What was the best part of your week? What was the worst part of your week for both personal and professional, and help their development. And even a gentleman on my team is 10 years older than me. So, you're never, sort of too young to motivate, and you're never too young to, give your feedback and your expertise. So also just having that confidence and trusting in yourself is important.
Right. I got two more questions for me. We'll see what they've got. Two more questions on my end are, number one, partnerships. Partnerships are everything. The entire industry is built on it. We know this, you know this, everybody knows this. Sponsorships, media rights, so endorsements, right? How do you go about building those, and how important is it to the life source of your industry?
Definitely. And there's a couple of different ways to look at it. Like my lens at the Cavs is probably very different than my lens at eFuse for different reasons. I can tell you at eFuse, when we're just talking to a company for the first time, we have that initial conversation with them and get their grasp on how much they know about esports and how much they don't know. So we have two different versions of our pitch deck, one for endemics and one for non-endemics, meaning people who know about gaming and people who don't know about gaming. And that's kind of step one. And then step two is, coming up with really dope ideas. I mean, everyone wants to be pitched something fresh and unique and something that they've never heard before. So the ideation process for us is is a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie, coming up with those ideas that are unique to that brand. So if you're talking to like Cheez-Its, what are those like taglines that they use all the time? What are the characters that they use? How could you, bring those characters and that brand to life in a gaming audience in a really unique way? And then also like pairing them to a game that they would prefer. Like you guys will probably see this in the upcoming days, but we're going to be partnering with Taco Bell, and for Rocket League, and we're calling it Taco Ball. So like, you know, what cool Taco Bell like activations could we do, in Rocket League and come up with those really unique pieces. So that's kind of how partnerships start. And then, as you go through the deck and flow through it, come up with those concepts, like create that visual for them, because when they see that logo of what it's going to look like, and when they see, like a mock-up of what the Twitch page will be, it sort of like brings it to life for them and they can see it instead of just trying to picture it in their heads.
Epic. That's great. That's good stuff. Okay. I got one more. You're working at this great, incredible, crazy place. What are you excited about? What makes Halina excited, and what's she looking forward to in the industry and her job? What's happening next for Halina?
I love that eFuse is game agnostic. So whatever the sort of the popular game is at the time, we kind of ride that wave. If Warzone is the most popular game in the world, we're throwing the best Warzone tournaments. If Apex starts popping off, then we just did an event with the NBA player Grayson Allen for Apex, where we had TSM and G2 and a bunch of these other organizations compete. So we really try to keep it fresh and keep it to what's relevant. And I think that was sort of what I was maybe missing on the Cav side is we were forced to be only 2K. The Cavaliers, wanted to spread their wings and do other games, but again, it goes back to that conversation of NBA rules and regulations. We weren't allowed to expand into other titles. So, yeah, I think what makes me super stoked to wake up is all the different games and all the different creators we could be working with and just keeping it really fresh, and it's not the same people every day and the same sort of rhythm. Like we're really doing some cool and unique events and throwing out some cool and unique experiences and activations.
Other questions from the people. Probably trying to consume all of that incredible information. Just as I promised, half hour, 45 minutes. In and out, Halina.
I love it.
On the dot. I know. Listen, it was a pleasure having you here. We appreciate your time. We'll probably end up calling you back, maybe. I've got some things that are going down the pipeline that I think you might be really interested in as I start to build out some really interesting content for the community here and some other types of partnerships and things that we're trying to do here. So we'll be in touch for sure. But thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. You guys are the best, and let me know if you need anything. Feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I also have a Twitter, Blonde Venom. So add me on LinkedIn, add me on Twitter if you want to hit me up and ask any questions, or if you want me to connect you with anybody over at the eFuse team.
Well, there it is. That's what it's about. People connecting with people.
Yep.
Thanks so much, Halina. Appreciate the time.
Thank you guys so much.